What I'll say as to the SOL ETH question is, we had a guy from Standard Chartered, Jeff Kendrick, on the show a couple months ago, and he gave his kind of Solana versus ETH as like an outsider banker perspective. And he basically said a version of this argument where he was saying that I think on like a 5-10 year time horizon, SOL ETH maybe performs similarly, if not Solana outperforming Ethereum. But on a closer time horizon, he was actually more bullish on ETH, basically making the case that, yes, you can say that the growth of L2s means that Ethereum is giving up a lot, but not actually accruing a lot of value to ETH, the asset, based on the trading activity that's going on the L2s that's been kind of shuttled off of the L1. That's true, but it's kind of been priced in at this point. Like, that's not a new argument. It's commonly known that this is an issue. And look,
Yeah.
Ethereum is a hundreds of billions of dollar market cap asset. It, I guess, can compete on the stablecoin narrative. And I think you kind of saw that this play out, where it was all priced in. You needed Tom Lee to start shilling for ETH on television. I think some of his arguments were just wrong, which is a little bit frustrating, where he kind of said, Robinhood launched on Ethereum, where it didn't launch on Ethereum, it launched on Arbitrum, and that's a very notable distinction. But to the Wall Street, less in the weeds of crypto Twitter person, it looks like a pretty convincing argument, and maybe that Ethereum was underpriced relative to Solana. So you can definitely paint a clear picture for why this is happening. It'll be interesting to see, what Solana's next pitch is. I don't know exactly how well Solana competes in this like treasury company world. It seems like maybe some of the leaders in the Solana world are less gung ho to get involved in treasury companies. You haven't seen like a Solana Foundation treasury company yet. Maybe we will. But a lot of the focus is on internet capital markets and tech upgrades and BAM and these more technical things that don't work in the kind of meme stock world we're living in this summer. But maybe if you're a Solana fan, you'd say that a few years down the line, many assets come onto Solana, and you win long term for that reason.
Yeah, I guess like I would say there's some sort of truth to the ETH narrative, in the sense that despite Solana's improvement in the past like 5 years or so, like it is still been very hard to attract like stablecoin liquidity on chain. And like despite some Solana DeFi apps like being incredibly good in terms of like security, UX, they still like are a fraction of what Ethereum-based applications like on the DeFi side like generate in terms of revenue and in terms of like TVL and borrow activity and so on. So I do think there's some stickiness to ETH that is worth like, that I don't think like we can just like shrug off. Like I think there's some truth to that. Like for instance, Aave has like more than $50 billion in deposits. I was seeing some statistic the other day, like it places it like in top 20 banks or something in the US if you were to like just like rank it by deposits. Whereas on Solana, you have like Camino as the largest one with like 4 billion or something. So it's like still like 1/10, like even less than what the largest money market on Ethereum is. So I do think like from a DeFi perspective, especially like Solana is still like lagging in terms of like maturity, and that kind of doesn't resonate like with TradFi. Like TradFi sees, okay, where are stable coins like launching, and they see Ethereum with 80+% of the market share, where like money market activity taking place, they see Ethereum like with the market share. So I think that's kind of like what we've been seeing in the past few weeks or months. Yeah.
But does stablecoin liquidity really matter? Because like you bring up Aave, and yes, Aave is an incredibly impressive protocol. I think there's a lot of effort being put in behind the scenes to create something like it on Solana. I mean, Jupiter launched its lending app, I believe, in May. I actually haven't really seen what the uptake has looked like there, but it's something that people want to do. But all that to say, it's not like people are, financing mortgages on Aave or whatever. Like there's not productive real world activity happening in either place. So is there any reason other than just the kind of convince a dumb banker to buy Ethereum reason that stablecoin liquidity really matters?
Yeah, I guess that's a good question, but it like I no, I think that's a good point. Yeah, you kind of like left me with no argument there. Like, but I don't think it's like pure like I wouldn't say it's not productive, right? Like why would you say like it's not productive like Aave or Camina today?
Well, I'm not saying that. First of all, I'm honored that I left you speechless, Carlos. It's
Yeah.
first time in these episodes I've done so. But I'm saying stable coins maybe are pitched as this serious real world. Some people call stable coins real world assets, right? It's not like a meme coin, which is what a lot of Solana DeFi activity is centered around. But people on Aave are not necessarily using finance to accomplish things in the real world, which I think is what you would think of RWAs as, right? Like, can I get can we democratize access to some asset class? So like I think of there's that one on Solana that lets you buy like mineral rights, right? That's like a difficult to invest in asset class that DeFi makes it easier for you to participate in this thing in the real world.
I mean, maybe it's not what you see. Like, yeah, obviously, like the most popular use case in money markets today is probably like just looping like the native assets. So you just loop like a liquid stake against the stake, but you also, that's just like what most people do. But it doesn't mean you can't do the other things, right? So you can like deposit ETH, take a stable coin denominated loan, and then just deploy that in the real world. Like there's nothing preventing you from doing that. It's just like not a lot of people do it, right? But like you fundamentally can do it if you want to. Like Camina, for instance, recently onboarded X stocks, which are like tokenized equities, like US based equities, and then there's more than $1 million of X stocks like in that market. So like, yeah, it's not the most popular use case today, but I think like we're seeing that kind of like shift toward most productive use cases, if you want to call it that way. And then you always have like the option of doing so. Like even if most people are not doing it, like if you could today, you could do it. Like you could deposit your SOL, take down a stablecoin denominated loan, and like spend that in the real world. Like there's nothing preventing you from doing that, I think.
Yeah, point taken. I'm not saying that these can't be used for productive reasons, but I think when you talk about things like the stablecoin market cap on a network, it's like great, but why? What are those stablecoins being used for?
Yeah,
and
no, I agree with that. And I think a lot of the ETH-based stablecoins are just sitting like I don't have the data, so I cannot like speak to the actual numbers. But a huge percentage of that is just sitting on centralized exchanges, probably. So that's one point like in your favor, yeah.